I saved my best friend's life, only to find out a moment later that he was sleeping with my wife. But their affair was just a cover. Behind my back, they had stolen more than $200,000 from me. They thought I was just crushed by grief. They had no idea I was preparing a plan that would destroy their lives. My name is Ethan, or at least that's what we'll go with. For 20 years, Leo and I have been more than friends. We were brothers, forged in the unforgiving crucible of the mountains. Climbing was our shared language, a bond of trust so absolute that you never questioned it. When a man is holding the rope that keeps you from a 1,000-foot drop, trust is all you have. I trusted him with my life countless times. I also trusted my wife, Anna. I loved her with a quiet, steady certainty that I thought was the bedrock of my world. I believed we were a team, building a life together. It turns out, she was on a different team entirely. Last week, we were tackling a notoriously difficult ascent on a remote peak we'd dreamed of conquering for years. The weather forecast had promised a clear window, but the mountain had other ideas. The sky turned a bruised purple with alarming speed, and the wind began to howl, whipping snow into a blinding frenzy. We were on a treacherous, ice-slicked pitch when it happened. Leo, reaching for a hold, slipped. The sickening scrape of gear against rock, his shocked cry swallowed by the wind. It's a sound that will haunt me forever. The rope went taut, yanking me hard against my anchor. My body screamed in protest as I braced, the belay line biting deep into my frozen, gloveless hands. Below me, dangling over the abyss, was my best friend, my brother. His life was literally in my hands. The cold was brutal and shock was setting in. I could see the wild, delirious fear in his eyes as he looked up at me. He screamed, his voice raw, shredded by the wind and terror.
Tell Anna I love her. Forgive me, brother. Forgive me.
Time stopped. The wind, the cold, the searing pain in my hands, it all faded away, replaced by a deafening roar in my ears. Tell Anna I love her. Forgive me. It wasn't a confession of fear. It was a confession of betrayal. Every shared laugh, every secret, every moment of our friendship replayed in my mind, now tainted, twisted into a grotesque parody. My boundless love for my wife, my unshakable trust in my friend. It all shattered into a million icy shards. And there I was, holding the rope. Every muscle in my body, screaming from exertion and cold, suddenly felt a different urge. The urge to let go. Just 1 second. A momentary lapse in my grip. No one would ever know. It would be a tragic climbing accident. A story of two friends bested by the mountain. All the pain, the humiliation, the sheer, gut-wrenching agony of their betrayal. It could all end, right here, right now. The mountain could deliver its own justice. But as I stared down at him, a different thought cut through the rage. A cold, clear thought. If I let go, I let them win. I let their actions define me. I would become a man who let his friend fall, a man ruled by his worst impulses. They had already taken so much from me. I refused to let them take my soul, too. With a roar that came from somewhere deeper than my lungs, I began to pull. Hand over agonizing hand, I hauled him up, my muscles tearing, my mind a blank slate of pure, mechanical will. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. When I finally dragged him over the ledge, we collapsed. Two broken men on a frozen peak. We didn't speak on the descent. We didn't speak in the car. The silence was heavier than any mountain. When I walked through my front door, Anna rushed to me, her face a perfect mask of worried relief. She hugged me, telling me how terrified she'd been. I felt nothing. It was like watching a movie of my own life. I'm living in a house with a stranger who shares my wife's face. I'm haunted by the ghost of a friendship. I saved the man who destroyed my life, and now I have to face the woman who helped him do it. She has no idea that I know. What do I do now? If this story has you hooked, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments what you think my first move should be. I'm reading everything. Thank you for all the comments and advice. It's strange how validation from strangers can feel like a lifeline when your world is sinking. Most of you said the same thing. Stay calm, play dumb, and gather evidence. That's exactly what I'm doing. This has become a different kind of climb, a test of endurance and strategy. My rage hasn't disappeared. It has solidified into something cold and hard like granite. I am an observer in my own life now, and I am watching everything. The last week has been a masterclass in deception. Anna has been suffocatingly attentive. She cooks my favorite meals, asks about my day, suggests we watch movies. She calls me her hero for saving Leo. The performance is flawless, sickeningly so. I play my part. I'm the traumatized husband, grateful for her care, too shaken to talk much about the accident. Leo is another story. I saw him once. He came over, ostensibly to thank me. He couldn't look me in the eye. He just stared at the floor, mumbling about how he owed me his life.
I don't know what to say, Ethan. Thank you isn't enough. I was out of my head up there.
Out of his head. That's the narrative he's going with. That his confession was just the delirium of a man facing death. He's hoping I'll believe it. I just nodded.
We're good, right, brothers? Always?
I put a hand on his shoulder, looked him right in the eye for the first time, and smiled a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Always. The way he flinched told me everything I needed to know. I knew words wouldn't be enough. I needed proof, and I was ready to turn their world upside down to find it. A confession made under duress on a mountain isn't proof. I need something concrete, something undeniable. So I started where many of you suggested. The finances. Not our personal phones. That felt too risky and obvious. I started with our joint accounts. I spent hours combing through credit card statements, line by line, going back 2 years. I was looking for hotel charges, expensive gifts, anything out of the ordinary. For days, I found nothing. They were careful. But then I saw it. It wasn't one big, obvious charge. It was a pattern of smaller, recurring payments. Monthly charges to something called the Willow Creek Wellness Retreat. It sounded innocuous. A spa. But the dates were interesting. They almost perfectly aligned with the dates Leo was supposedly away on business trips. And Anna's justification for the expense was always vague, filed under household or personal care. I've never been to this retreat. She never mentioned it. It's an hour out of town, a secluded, high-end place. On its own, it's circumstantial. But with Leo's confession, it's a breadcrumb, a thread. And I have a feeling if I pull on it, their whole world is going to unravel. I have a location and a pattern, but no definitive proof they were there together. Do I confront Anna with this and watch her lie? Or do I dig deeper before making a move? What would you do in my place? I knew I was out of my depth. I needed a professional. I hired a private investigator, a retired financial crimes detective named Arthur. He was an older man, sharp, with eyes that seemed to see right through the nonsense of the world. I sat in his drab office and laid out the whole story, from the mountain to the wellness retreat. He listened patiently, without judgment. When I finished, he didn't focus on the affair.
Mr. Davies, in my 20 years as a detective, I learned one thing. Where there is this level of personal betrayal between people who are meant to trust each other, it is rarely just about sex. The affair is often a cover for the real crime. Let's look at the money.
Arthur's team dug. What they found has left me breathless. Willow Creek Wellness Retreat isn't just a spa, it's a shell corporation. And who is the sole director of that corporation? Leo, my best friend, my brother. The scheme was devastatingly simple. Anna, who handled our joint finances and did the books for my small but successful engineering firm, had been systematically overbilling my company for non-existent services and materials. She would create fake invoices, pay them from my business account into our joint account, then transfer the exact same amount to the wellness retreat account. To me, it looked like money going out for business expenses and money going in from her freelance work. In reality, it was my own money being laundered and funneled into an account controlled by Leo. They have stolen over $200,000 over the last 3 years. The affair wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a partnership. Their getaways to the retreat weren't romantic interludes. They were business meetings. They were planning, conspiring, and bleeding me dry. My hard work, my late nights, the risks I took to build my company, it was all just funding their future. Leo's confession on the mountain wasn't just guilt over the affair. It was the panicked cry of a man who thought his entire multi-year financial scheme was about to fall off a cliff with him. The rage is gone now. It's been burned away, leaving behind an Arctic calm. This is no longer about a broken heart. It's about a declaration of war. I'm not just going to divorce her and cut him out of my life. I am going to dismantle their world with the same cold precision they used to dismantle mine. I have the bank records. I have the corporate filings. I have the proof. And I have a plan. I didn't yet know how deep the rabbit hole went, but the detective's words confirmed my worst suspicion. The betrayal was just the tip of the iceberg. My entire life for the past few years has been a carefully constructed lie designed to bankrupt me. The plan I've devised is risky, but if it works, they won't have a leg to stand on. How do you think this confrontation will play out? I invited my wife and her lover to dinner to celebrate him being alive. I served them a confession instead. The stage was set. Vengeance is a dish best served cold, but I decided to serve it with a nice steak. I told Anna I wanted to have a small dinner to officially close the book on the accident. I said I wanted to thank Leo properly to clear the air and move on. She thought it was a wonderful idea, a sign that I was healing. She even called him to invite him herself. The two of them, eagerly walking into the trap. They arrived together, the perfect picture of concerned friends. We made small talk. The food was excellent. I raised a glass to Leo, toasting his survival. I talked about the bond of the rope, about trust, about how moments like that make you reevaluate what's important in life. I watched them nod along, soaking it in, believing they had gotten away with it all. The arrogance was staggering. Then, after dessert, I made my move. I let out a heavy sigh and leaned back in my chair. You know, I began, this whole thing has me thinking. With Leo's medical bills, which I'm covering, of course, and the time I've had to take off work, I'm feeling financially stretched. I've been thinking about selling a majority stake in my company. I even have a buyer lined up. It would give us a huge cash infusion, set us up for life. The shift in the room was electric. This was not part of their plan. They didn't want the company sold. They wanted the company. Anna's smile tightened.
Sell it? Honey, that seems so drastic. We're fine. We can manage the finances. There's no need to be hasty.
Leo jumped in, his voice filled with false sincerity.
Yeah, Ethan, don't rush into something you'll regret. That company is your baby. We'll help you through this.
You're right, I said, looking from one to the other. You are so right. It's too important to sell. I paused, letting the hook sink in. I have a better idea. To protect it, I'm going to transfer ownership into an ironclad family trust. And to show you how much I trust you both, how much you mean to me after all this, I want to make you both the primary trustees. Their eyes lit up. Greed is such a predictable emotion. They saw the finish line. Full control of my life's work, handed to them on a silver platter. They couldn't agree fast enough. I actually have the documents right here, I said, pulling a thick folder from my briefcase. My lawyer drew them up today. I slid the folder across the table. But on top, I placed another thinner file, the one from Arthur, the PI. Before you sign the trust documents, I said, my voice dropping to a calm, quiet level they had to lean in to hear. You should probably review this. It's an appendix, a detailed record of every transfer to the Willow Creek Wellness Retreat, the corporate ownership papers, a complete accounting of the $200,000 you've stolen from me. It's all there. The color drained from their faces. Anna's hand flew to her mouth. Leo looked like he was about to be sick. The performance was over.
Ethan, I don't know what that is. This is a mistake.
The only mistake, I said, standing up, was thinking I was stupid, and thinking I would let you fall on that mountain. I saved you, Leo, so you could face justice down here, not escape it up there. I pushed the real documents towards them. Those aren't trust papers. That is a legally binding confession and a repayment agreement for every single cent you stole, with interest. You have two choices. You sign that, transfer the shell company and all its assets to me, and I walk away, leaving you with nothing but your disgrace. Or this folder goes to the district attorney's office first thing in the morning, and you face charges for wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. You'll both go to prison. The choice is yours. They sat there, trapped by their own greed, with their entire future condensed to a signature on a piece of paper. What do you think they chose? A life of humiliation and debt, or a prison cell? It's been 6 months. 6 months since the night I took my life back. For those of you wondering, they signed the papers. Faced with the certainty of prison, they chose disgrace. The fight went out of them in an instant, replaced by the pathetic, hollowed-out look of the defeated. The aftermath was swift and clinical. The divorce was finalized in record time. Anna signed everything without a word. She had to sell her car and her jewelry to make the first repayment installment. The last I heard, she was working 2 low-wage jobs, living in a tiny apartment across town. Her mother, Sarah, called me once.
I don't know the details of what happened between you, Ethan, but you've broken my daughter. She's a shell of herself.
My reply was quiet but firm. Helen, your daughter is paying back the money she stole from me. That isn't called being broken. That's called consequences. There was a long silence before she hung up. Leo is a ghost. The repayment plan will cripple him financially for the next decade. News travels fast. When the story got out, and it did, he became a pariah. He lost his job, his reputation, and all of his friends. He is a man utterly alone, a fate he engineered for himself. I feel nothing for him. No pity, no anger, just nothing. He is a closed chapter. As for me, I am free. I sold my company, but on my own terms for a fantastic price. I took the money, along with the assets from their little shell corporation, and I moved. A new city, a new life. I'm starting something new, a smaller venture, something that's just for me. Last weekend, I went back to the mountains. I went alone. I stood on a high, windy summit, looking out at the endless peaks. I thought about the belay line, about that moment where I held Leo's life in my hands. I finally understood why I pulled him up. It was never about saving him. It was about saving myself. I refused to let their betrayal poison me. I refused to become a man who would let another fall, no matter what they'd done. My victory wasn't in their destruction. It was in my own integrity. I faced the ultimate test of my character, not on that icy ledge, but in the calm, calculated days that followed. And I did not let go. I'm still climbing. But now I choose my partners very, very carefully. The view from this new summit is clearer than any I've seen before. It's the view of a future that is entirely my own.